pleasant good morning to you. It is Wednesday, September 28th. I'm Shane Seeley, and this is the CBC Morning Report. We start a look at what is happening with Hurricane Ian, which has slammed into western Cuba, forcing thousands of evacuations, cutting off power to hundreds of thousands of people, and swamping fishing villages. This as it moved north towards the U.S. state of Florida, where residents anxiously await the Category 3 storm. Well, we will get that clip ready for you in a matter of moments. Meanwhile, we hear that a major connecting road in the parish of St. Thomas in Jamaica has collapsed as a result of the extensive rain from the outer bands of Hurricane Ian. Residents of Mount Vernon Gap have expressed desperation at being cut off from the rest of the country. Let's go to Jamaica and see what's happening there.
This is what's left of the main entrance to Cedar Valley in Mount Vernon Gap, St. Thomas. Between Monday night and Tuesday morning, the saturated soil collapsed into this gully, an all too familiar scene for residents in the community.
For 3 years now, we have a cut off, a break off, where no vehicle can go. And I've been to parish council several times asking them to come and see what they can do to fix it, because if it cut off, we will be marooned.
And now residents are in that same situation. A section of the road collapsed in 2020 and was reduced to single-lane traffic. Now it is barely wide enough for pedestrians.
Till we cut off completely, it's bad. Where are we going to get food for our kids? Where we are going to get food for our family? It is a disgrace. Nobody cares for us. A big district like this.
This is so bad, so bad. We know it gone. Where we are going to do? What we are going to do? Where we are going? Baby mother there, if we sick, we can't come out, nothing.
So what have the local authorities been doing? Residents stressed that they have been in dialogue with their councillor, Marsha Francis.
Nobody busy with us. Engineer come, different people come. Nobody look at us. All they are saying is parish council road. And we come on parish council, we have no councillor. Nobody no look for we talk to the councillor. She said she could try, and all they try until now.
When we contacted Ms. Francis, she told our news team that she is aware of the situation and plans are underway to fix the road. She said the municipal corporation is trying to acquire an additional plot of land to start the restoration. Ms. Francis also indicated that she will be visiting the community to assess the latest damage.
Now, as we were talking about Hurricane Ian, you saw what it did there in Jamaica. It slammed into western Cuba, as we mentioned before, forcing thousands of evacuations. And now the Category 3 hurricane has its eyes on Florida. Let's take a look at what is happening with Ian right now.
Blowing through the Cayman Islands, Hurricane Ian offers a taste of what is about to come for Cuba and the US mainland. The island's National Emergency Operations Center has now given the all clear as Ian heads across the Caribbean.
We may have to turn around.
The International Space Station showed the eye of the storm as it approached Cuba. With winds reaching 155 kilometers per hour, it made landfall in the west. There's a risk of widespread damage in a country already suffering an economic crisis. Then in Ian's path is Florida. It's more than a century since a storm like this last threatened the Tampa Bay area.
I think you're always worried when there's a storm coming your way, so we're doing the best we can to prepare. And if needed, we'll evacuate, or I will evacuate if I need to.
The problem here is that storms approaching from the south push huge amounts of water up into the shallow Tampa Bay, inundating homes and businesses with a storm surge up to 3 meters high. Many people decided to head out of town rather than endure the hurricane. Those sitting tight stocked up before heading home to batten down the hatches. With Ian approaching the US mainland, the federal government has declared a public health emergency for Florida that has a population of 21 million people.
Now, in some more news on Ian as it approaches Florida, we are hearing that it's now a Category 4 storm, and that was reported early this morning. And this is as it churns towards the Panhandle, where millions are being warned of catastrophic flooding and life-threatening storm surge. Ian was whipping up sustained winds around 140 miles per hour and is projected to approach the west coast of Florida today, this morning, and move onshore later in the day. And this is according to the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. The area between Naples and Sarasota is facing the highest threat of dangerous storm surge, and residents in these areas are being told to listen to the advice by local officials and to follow any evacuation orders. This is a very serious situation. We are following this story, and we will keep you updated right here on the Morning Report and in subsequent newscasts. We'll take a break here, but coming back on the Morning Report, we'll look at what is happening with the COVID-19 pandemic and also the war in Ukraine. Barbados has recorded 32 new COVID-19 cases, according to the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The cases were registered as a result of 349 tests conducted on Monday by laboratories across the island. Of the positive cases, 6 persons were under the age of 18 and 26 were 18 years and older. The number of people in isolation facilities was 30, while 232 people were in home isolation. As at September the 26th, there were 559 COVID-19 related deaths here in Barbados. Sudden and unexplained gas leaks detected in the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines from Russia to Germany have prompted investigations by European countries into the cause amid fear of possible sabotage. Denmark's armed forces on Tuesday released a video showing bubbles rushing to the surface of the Baltic Sea above the pipelines, and said the largest gas leak had caused surface disturbances of well over 1 kilometer in diameter. An energy standoff over Russia's war in Ukraine halted flows through the Nord Stream 1 and prevented the onset of flows through the parallel Nord Stream 2.
Nord Stream 1 normally ships gas from Russia directly to Germany, but deliveries were suspended by Russia earlier this month because of a standoff over sanctions. Denmark and Sweden first reported the leaks near the island of Bornholm. Shipping near the lines has now been restricted. Some EU members suspect the lines have been sabotaged.
Today we faced an act of sabotage. We don't know yet all the details of what happened, but we can see clearly that this is an act of sabotage, an act which likely means a further step of escalation of the situation in Ukraine.
Al Jazeera's Step Varsen has the latest from Lubmin on the northern coast of Germany, where the Nord Stream 1 pipeline comes ashore.
It happened overnight when the Swedes and then the Danes found out that there were significant leaks in the Nord Stream 1 pipeline, and then just a few hours later also there was a big leak in the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and that's the pipeline where I'm standing at right now. It's never been officially used because it's very controversial. And these leaks are not just cracks, there seem to be really significant holes in these pipelines, and you can see apparently gas bubbling up, and the Swedish and Danish authorities have also warned ships from going to that area. They have said that all the ships have to be diverted. And also interestingly, we just spoke to a seismologist at the Uppsala University in Sweden, and he says that not only last night but even the night before they detected explosions in the area of 2.3 at the Richter scale, causing these kind of tremors basically. He said that it is basically comparable if you explode mines between 100 and 200 kilograms. We're still waiting, of course, for confirmation and other sources to explain about what happened there, but that's of course also something to keep an eye on. What I said, it's unprecedented. 3 leaks at 2 pipes at the same time. These pipes don't break very easily, so not only European leaders are pointing at sabotage, but also experts say it's very unlikely that this is just a coincidence.
Well, time to preview what's coming up on today's edition of Morning Barbados. So for that, we say good morning to Pearson Boyne. Pearson, what are some of the things that you're digesting today?
Good morning, Shane.
Morning.
I will regurgitate today for sure, having digested indeed. And so, folks, we want you this morning to digest the fact that tomorrow is World Heart Day. What do you know about it? What's the capacity of your heart, not just for the functioning of self, but for the helping of others? And we'll talk a little bit about that when the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados joins us in just a little bit. Also today it's Tourism Week, and so there's a big activity on this evening. We want you to be a part of it, so we'll tell you about it, maybe remind you about it as well. And what does diversity alone have to do with inclusivity? We'll be looking at diversity and inclusivity in the workplace when we talk HR with Hermab. Just a little bit of what you can expect when you join me at 6:30 for Morning Barbados. Back to you, Shane.
Thank you, Pearson. Well, the construction of a new hotel here in Barbados is expected to create hundreds of jobs. We'll tell you exactly which hotel site this is coming up here on the Morning Report. The construction of a new Indigo branded hotel in Barbados is set to create hundreds of jobs and grow Barbados' tourism offering. Shane Jones was on location yesterday as the Prime Minister Mia Motley broke ground at the Hastings site.
In just about 2 years, the south coast of Barbados will have a new prestigious tourism product. That's the timeline given for the construction of an Indigo branded hotel, and this artist's impression gives you an idea of what it will look like. The new hotel will be located on the site of the old Caribbean Hotel in Hastings, Christchurch, and during the groundbreaking ceremony, Prime Minister Mia Motley toured the site and met with the developers. She said the $100 million investment shows there is confidence in Barbados' economy.
Last week, Barbados issued blue bonds, becoming one of the first countries in the world to do so with a pandemic clause included. But more importantly than all of that, for the purpose of the conversation this morning, is the fact that those blue bonds were oversubscribed. and that 150% of what we asked for is what came to the table. Better than we anticipated, with better pricing than we anticipated. That is the judgment of the international community on this country. This brown bacon this morning is the judgment of the regional community on this country. And we have to continue to just stay the course.
Ms. Motley says as Barbados' tourism product continues to mature, new investments are critical. And she believes the Indigo Hotel is just one of many to come.
What is happening here is the exact thing that we want to happen. On this site stood 2 hotels. One of the oldest hotels that this country ever had, Ocean View. And many of you may not even remember it because it was knocked down so many years ago, but it was one of Barbados' premier hotels in the days before tourism was popular. And 2, Caribbean next door. So that when we talk about repurposing old and mature tourism product for a modern day Barbados, this is the example of what we're speaking of. Being able to have more density on this site, being able to therefore command more revenue for the hotel to make the hotel more competitive, and at the same time ensuring that those sites which had literally brought earnings for the country and jobs for Bajans can do so again in this way.
Trinidadian-based company Cruisin' will be responsible for the hotel construction. Project manager James Edgell said it will be a welcomed addition to Barbados' tourism landscape, and the 2-year building period will create hundreds of jobs.
Indigo is a brand owned by IHG, which is one of the largest hotel companies in the world, so it's very prestigious that Barbados can attract such a brand. The hotel will have 131 rooms. It'll be 7 stories. We'll have 3 food and beverage offerings, and it represents approximately a $50 million investment by the investors. During construction, we anticipate $50 million. Yes. During construction, we anticipate employee numbers of about 250, and on hotel operations of about 75. So it's a significant investment both financially and in terms of employment for the island.
The hotel will boast several food and beverage options, and developers are hoping to attract both tourists and locals. Shane Jones, CBC News.
MP for St. Thomas Cynthia Ford has expressed her disappointment in housing issues since the passage of the freak storm and Hurricane Elsa last year remain unsolved. Ms. Ford says she's unaware of the number of homes in her constituency that have been repaired, and she's appealing to the Minister of Housing to remedy this situation, as she will not renege in her responsibility to represent the people of St. Thomas and St. Barbados.
Up until this morning around 3 o'clock, I'm getting WhatsApp messages with houses that the lights are flickering on and off like a Christmas tree. Families are still living in them. One person sent me buckets catching water because St. Thomas seems to be one of the most fertile parishes in this country. It rains every day, Mr. Speaker. You might need to want to come up there, sir, and get some of the breeze and the beauty and the refreshing showers. But if our house tops have been blown off and they have not been fixed, what can we do? And to call from now to the cows come home, it is not right. And you know, Mr. Speaker, sir, I am passionate about people who suffer. And sometimes how slow some agencies operate.
While focusing now on her constituency, Ms. Ford further called for attention to be placed on 40 acres and for assistance to those seeking to secure title deeds.
The Honourable Minister, please listen to me. I don't want a single housing unit, not one. People would prefer to buy the spot, have the houses built, and to be able to do whatever animal husbandry, whatever aspects of agriculture they will desire. And so I'm going to ask the Minister, please, at some point in time, to give me a hearing, because a lot of people in Barbados feel that because we are becoming aged, and I might be the second oldest in this honorable chamber, that I have no needs or I have no voice.
Back on the international scene now, a NASA spacecraft has hit an asteroid in an unprecedented test designed to prevent potentially devastating collisions with Earth. NASA's double asteroid redirection test, or DART, spacecraft crashed into the asteroid. Let's see what happened there.
11 million kilometers from Earth, the spacecraft hurtled closer and closer to the rocky asteroid that was its target. And then, bullseye. Scientists and engineers at Mission Control cheer as the spacecraft smashes into a far-off asteroid called Dimorphos. It's a key step toward defending the world from future devastating impacts by massive space rocks.
We are showing that planetary defense is a global endeavor, and it is very possible to save our planet.
NASA's Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART, was launched in November last year. Its entire mission was to ram into Dimorphos at a speed of more than 6 kilometers per second, or 3,600 kilometers an hour. The result, it's hoped, a gentle nudge pushing the asteroid on a new path. Over many years, the change in trajectory will grow larger. While Dimorphos itself is not on a course to collide with Earth, space rocks, like the one that flashed across the sky in Russia 9 years ago, hit the planet all the time. And the big ones can change the course of life on Earth. 65 million years ago, a huge object crashed near the Yucatan Peninsula, causing global devastation. Scientists believe the impact is directly linked to the extinction of the dinosaurs. Getting rid of T-Rex and their kin was a good thing for us mammals, but another collision of the same magnitude won't be. It could destroy us all. So the international consortium behind DART hopes to defend the Earth from potential catastrophe by combining careful observations to identify asteroid threats years or decades ahead of time, along with the ability to knock them off their collision course.
There are no known asteroid threats, but when we find one in the future, maybe we'll have the technologies to potentially prevent it.
Dimorphos' new trajectory will be studied for years to come. The information gleaned from the test will, hopefully, help prevent humanity from suffering the same fate as the dinosaurs.
Sporting news now, all-round performance from opener Raheem Cornwall took Barbados Royals into the final of the 2022 Caribbean Premier League Championship following an 87-run win for the Guyana Amazon Warriors, the hosts. Playing in the first qualifier at Providence yesterday, the Royals, they would have posted a massive 195 for 5 off their 20 overs, led by Cornwall and 91 from Cornwall and 52 from Azam Khan. Cornwall and Azam put on 90 for the third wicket partnership, where Mario Shepherd took 2 for 29. Here are the highlights from that innings. Well, the player of the match was Cornwall. He then went on to claim 2 for 10, and Raymond Simmons picked up 3 for 17 as the Warriors were bowled out for 108 in 17.4 overs. It means that the Barbados Royals move straight to the finals, and they will play the winner of the eliminator. Of course, we'll have more details on the other match that was played yesterday on CBC Newsday. Time now to look at the weather. The temperature right now is 27 degrees Celsius. We're getting some showers on the outside. It's feeling like 31 degrees Celsius, and the relative humidity stands at 84%. The barometric pressure is 1011 millibars, and those winds are coming from the east-southeast at 16 kilometers per hour. I'll see a low tide at 10 minutes to 11 this morning. Then a high tide will come our way at 10 minutes after 5 in the afternoon. The seas are smooth to moderate in open water. Swells are between 1 and 1.5 meters and steady. Today will be sunny with cloudy periods and a few scattered moderate showers and a very slight chance of isolated thunderstorm activity mainly during the afternoon. And tonight, it will be cloudy to overcast at times with scattered moderate to heavy showers and a very slight chance of isolated thunderstorms. And here's a quick look at the international weather forecast. That's our time for this edition of the CBC Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. I'll see you at 7 with headline news. Up next is Pearson with Mornin Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados, good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Good morning to you indeed, and welcome to today, Wednesday, the 28th of September 2022. I am Pearson Boyne. Welcome to a brand new day filled with all sorts of possibilities. Indeed, here's hoping that you meet your purpose on the way as you go today. Good morning to all of you joining in too on our Facebook and YouTube streams. Wonderful having you company. We do encourage you to interact among yourselves, but also interact with us. We look forward to your interaction in a very significant way. Now today, you get to meet a woman who is of Barbadian parentage. She's in Sweden. She's also a contestant in an idol competition. Who is she? What is she doing? She will come to tell her story in just a little bit. World Animal Day is coming up, and just ahead of that, we want to share with you some of the activities on the cards and how you can be a part of it and show your love for your pets and your animals. We'll be taking a look at erectile dysfunction. Men, we got to listen up. Erectile dysfunction, when our urologist joins us this morning. How prevalent is it, and how do we find our way out of it? Indeed, erectile dysfunction. So that's a subject area that's going to be sticky, so we want you men to really pay close attention. Can we go beyond the lip service and really have workplaces that are diverse and inclusive? When we talk HR with Hermab, that's what we want to look at this morning. I hope you don't miss it at all, particularly those of you who are running your own company or perhaps are in HR in those respective companies as well. Pay attention when we talk HR with Hermab and they can look at diversity and inclusivity. It's Tourism Week, and so this evening they're having another one of their big events as we celebrate rethinking of tourism for Tourism Week, and we'll be talking about the T20, T15 cricket competition is on, so if you don't know about that, tune in then. Let's get started this morning because we are just a day away from World Heart Day. The theme we'll share with you because those coming to tell you about it are Michelle Daniel, the Chief Executive Officer of the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados, and with her is Dr. Dawn Canterbury, a consultant interventional cardiologist and Medical Director of the Cardiac Disease Prevention and Rehabilitation Program. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Good morning, Pearson.
Good morning indeed. Thank you for coming through. Dr. Dawn, I want to start with you. Talk to me about that relationship between the World Heart Foundation and the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados?
Well, I'll start with saying, telling you exactly what the World Heart Foundation is. The World Heart, not Foundation, Federation is kind of a global community of cardiovascular societies across the world. So societies such as the American Heart Association, the American College of Cardiology, the European Society of Cardiology are all part of this World Heart Federation. And Little Barbados Heart and Stroke Foundation is also a member. So these societies came together in the first conference for the World Heart Federation was back in the 1930s, and then unfortunately the World War kind of put things on hold. But then in the 50s, the global cardiovascular community started coming together to do conferences and then formalized more so as a federation to raise awareness for cardiovascular disease and the importance of understanding risk factors for and how to reduce the risk and the mortality and morbidity or death and disability from cardiovascular disease.
No.
So,
Now, tomorrow is World Heart Day, and so somewhat wondering, why are we bothering with it at all? Why do we take time to look at it? What do the statistics say, and how can we extrapolate from those statistics why it is important to pay attention to World Heart Day?
So cardiovascular disease, so heart and blood vessel disease. These diseases include things like heart attacks, stroke, diabetic foot disease, heart failure. These are the #1 causes of death across the world, #1 cause of death in Barbados. In case you may be thinking that these are diseases of all people, they're also #1 causes of premature death from the NCDs, so premature death in people under the age of 70. So it's vitally important to focus on heart disease, raise awareness of heart disease as the #1 cause of death worldwide, especially since a lot of these diseases are eminently preventable. So we're talking about doing heart attacks and diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, unhealthy lifestyle, smoking being risk factors for heart attacks. And these are things that we can treat and we can prevent and we can treat properly so that heart attack risk is reduced. So that's why World Heart Day is so important. We all need to come together, think about what we as societies and individuals can do to reduce this cardiovascular risk.
And so, Michelle, I'll turn to you because days have themes. What's the theme for World Heart Day 2022, and how can we all really pay attention and play our part?
Thank you very much, Pearson. So this year's theme is Use Heart for Every Heart. And basically it falls into 3 pillars. Use heart for humanity, which means that we need to be respectful of each other, be mindful of each other's health and the things that we do to impact others. Another pillar this year is in terms of nature. And so we know that there is a huge outcry globally in terms of climate change, and we're experiencing and here in Barbados. And so that means we as individuals need to pay attention to our environment in terms of pollution, in terms of garbage collection and that aspect and all the things that can impact us, because improper care of our environment leads to health issues as well. And finally, we need to take care of ourselves. So it's humanity, nature, and you. So what are you doing to minimize the risk of cardiovascular disease? And that's in terms of, if you're smoking, please stop or minimize smoking, controlling your cholesterol, losing weight. All of those things that you hear us say over and over again are important factors. So use heart for every heart. Take care of yourself and take care of others.
I like the way you've explained it fully indeed. And so how have you used this time, really, this month in particular, to play out Use Heart for Every Heart?
Thank you, Pearson. And so what we try to do is to avoid just focusing on one day. So from the beginning of the month, we had special radio program, looking at what we do, and in terms of the cardiovascular department and the rehab department that we operate. The first Saturday in September, we did an awareness walk, and the World Heart Federation had a global challenge to all of its members in terms of walking in the shape of a heart and, mobilizing persons to do that. And we had a really great time that morning. The incentive this week, there will be, dance sessions, nutrition for cardiac health, which will be, for our clients and patients. And then we wrapped up this week in terms of, actually there was a grand round, what we call a grand round at the QEH for mostly the medical practitioners in terms of looking at cardiac rehab. So that was an online session. And then tomorrow, the very important day, we will be having a charitable luncheon at the Barbados Yacht Club, and the public is invited to join us online for a panel discussion looking at heart attack care in Barbados. The future is now. So you see how important it is. Dr. Scanterbury spoke about it. So we don't concentrate on one day. We try to do a series of activities to build up and to help people to understand in their various spaces why this is important and what we need to do differently.
And that, no doubt, Dr. Scanterbury, is what you'll be looking at tomorrow in the panel discussion that will be on. Tell us a little bit more about it.
So we will be speaking specifically about management of heart attacks in Barbados, or mortality or death rate from heart attacks in Barbados is a lot higher than the average developed country. So even though on the the World Bank index, Barbados is considered a developed country, we're not doing as well in terms of our heart attack here for a multitude of reasons. So a few years back, a group of people came together to look at this and to look at what we can do to reduce that mortality. And what we'll be discussing tomorrow is what we've been doing, speaking of the different activities in different spheres. So patient education, ambulance service, hospital, even at the level of CARICOM, because this is not only a problem with Barbados, but a problem across the Caribbean. So we'll be speaking of exactly how we can look at our systems of care and how we can improve management of heart attacks. We have a great panel, Mr. Anthony Harris, who is a cardiac surgeon, prior director of medical services at the hospital, and the special advisor to the Ministry of Health on reduction in heart attack mortality will be the moderator. I will speak. Dr. Richard Ishmael, who is a consultant cardiologist, Dr. Stephen Moe, who is the head of the Department of Cardiology, Dr. Shane Williams, the acting director of medical services at the hospital and an emergency physician, and Dr. David Wire, the Honorable Dr. David Wire will be, who is the head of ambulance service, will be our panel. So a great panel. All these experts who manage heart attacks every single day will be speaking on this. So we invite everyone to log in. We are not focusing on medical providers, we're focusing on the public. We want you all to come and listen to what we are doing and ask you questions and be reassured that we are trying to improve things here in Barbados.
You say come, so tell me the where and the when.
So tomorrow at 6:30, it's going to be on a Zoom platform. You can go to the Heart and Stroke website, hsfbarbados.org. Is it what? Is it com or org?
Org.
Okay, hsfbarbados.org.
ORG, yes.
ORG, and directions for registering for the session are there. So everybody is welcome to attend.
So go to the website of the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados, all of that.org, and of course you'll find all the details about how you can log in to be a part of tomorrow's panel discussion starting at 6:30. But prior to that, there's lunch at the Yacht Club. And Michelle, talk to us a little bit about the lunch open to everyone.
It is open. I'm not sure how many tickets are left, but if persons are interested, please call us at 537-3312. You can ask for myself or Mrs. Greta Yearwood, and we'll be able to tell you. But once now things are reopened, this charity luncheon will become a staple in our calendar, I hope. And so you can look out for it next year if you miss it this time around. It is usually something not to be missed. But yes, 537-3312.
Those are the numbers to call to reserve your space for the luncheon tomorrow, charity luncheon, and also to go to the website to know more about how you can log in to tomorrow evening's panel discussion, because we all have a heart and we want you to use your heart for every heart. That's the theme for World Heart Day 2022. I want to thank you ladies for joining us this morning, for talking a little bit more about it as well. So thank you, Michelle Daniel, the Chief Executive Officer of the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados, and Dr. Don Canterbury, Consultant Interventional Cardiologist and Medical Director of the Cardiac Disease Prevention and Rehabilitation Program of the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados. That's a lot. I know. Ooh, my heart is pumping, just kidding you. But thank you so very much, and I wish you only the very best with the whole series of activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. Have a wonderful day.
Likewise. Thank you so much. Morning Barbados takes a break right here. We're coming back in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We have 14 minutes now to go to 7 o'clock. As you'd perhaps already know, this week we're celebrating Tourism Week under the auspices of the Barbados Tourism Marketing Incorporated. And the theme, Rethinking Tourism, it started on Sunday with the church service at Sanctuary Empowerment. On Monday, when you watched TV8 in the evening, you would have seen the Bust Your Brain, the tourism edition. Yesterday was when we were all encouraged to wear yellow in support of tourism and World Tourism Day. And so we're to today, we're to Wednesday. Now today is also perhaps the day that Carl Alf Padmore will see his first duck in cricket. But Jonathan Carter will see him through the finish line. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Carl Alf Padmore and Jonathan Carter.
Good morning, sir.
Pearson. Now, Carl, I do not know you as a cricketer. Dispel the myth for me.
I played a little cricket for Kings Park in St. Philip. And sometimes they would assist with the PE department at the Alexandra School.
Okay.
I will give Jonathan Carter a little credit. There was a time that I had some difficulties sweeping. That's a cricket terminology. And he was actually wicket keeping during the next session at the Alexandra School, and he guided me through it. So he has that good knowledge as well. I'm not one of the greatest, but I can hold my own good left arm swing if I want to.
If you want to, on a good day, or in this case now, a good night.
yeah, good night if I want to. But you see, I may even give away tonight to give the others a play.
Oh.
Because I don't want to hog the show. I mean, give the others a chance.
Listen, this is a celebrity match, so I know you're going to bring all of your celebrities to the game, so it's going to be quite comedic.
Yes.
And Jonathan, he has a lot of mouth. Are you playing with him or against him?
I'll
let him answer that question.
Jonathan is on a team. I must say, Pearson, this is a very, although fun, is a very serious thing, because this team that Jonathan is on, they have hired QC Ralph Thorne to be their manager because they say they want to make sure legally everything is correct so the other side won't cheat. That's a team that includes Sherwin Campbell, Derek Bishop, Jason Pars, Dale Richards, Robin Pars, Mally Marshall, Demetrius Richards, Rico Webb, Armani Goodrich, Shem Holder, D2, you know D2 from the Tom Reward Show, Lalu Goodrich, DeMarco Wiggins, he's one of the 15 guys that they brought in. Vasper Drakes, Spinney, the guy who does all of that walk-up thing, he's there. And then we have a female cricketer, Alison Gordon. So they have that. But, Pearson, one of your good friends, a guy called Dr. the Most Honorable Stedston Wiltshire.
All right.
He is the manager of the other team, which includes Ian Bradshaw, Michael Knight, and Michael plays with Marshall Indoors, a Barbadian, and he played a good set of cricket with Kyle Indoors. Kyle Carbon is on that team, Jason Haynes. Martin Nurse, Alcinda Holder is in that team. A fellow we are going to call Chef Fitz is on that team. Zari Matara, Stiffy, yes, Diego Stewart, DiMario, Ryan. Sean Hall is representing his dad, who is Sir Rice Hall. So Sean is going to be there. Aldrich Barton, Dave Smooth, you know that name, he's there. Asebi Calendar. And then you have RJ Gittins, he was the fastest on the 15 from Barbados, the bowler, who represented us in the regional championship. So you have two good mixed teams. You didn't hear my name yet because I can decide tonight which team I want to appear for. Jonathan is afraid that I go and play for the opposition. He's quite afraid of that. I taught him at school, and I want to say to the public, Jonathan still owes me lines and possible detention. So if I was Jonathan, I would behave. But Marsha Allen from the BTMI has done a fantastic job in pulling this all together with her team. Shanique Morris. Shanique is the go-to lady down there. And then Julia Kane, she is from the Cricket Legends. And she was responsible for bringing out persons like Charlie Griffith, Sylvester Saul, Sir Garfield Sobers, Joel Garner. All of the legends are actually coming out as well, the ones who can, and they're going to be part of this. I think it's going to be a wonderful evening, Pearson. So after saying all that to you, Pearson, do you think I should still play and show up, Jonathan?
I think you should play, and I think you should show up, Jonathan. Yes. Jonathan, the challenge is now on you to be able to rebut that. Talk to me, Jonathan. Are you excited? Are you looking forward to today's cricket match at T15, as a matter of fact?
Yeah, first of all, let me say I think that he is indeed scared. But knowing Mr. Padmore, he will put up this front to me as though he's not scared.
Yes.
To try to make me believe that he's not scared. So yes, I do believe he's scared.
It's psychological.
Yes, I'm looking forward to. Yes, it is. It is.
7 p.m.
Yes, I'm looking forward to
7 p.m. tonight.
What's happening at 7 p.m. tonight, Mr. Palmer?
I am going to put a young fast bowler, RJ Gittins, to open the ball. He is going to bowl you. You are not making 10 tonight. 7 p.m. at 3Ws.
So,
you're
Jonathan,
not only going to rethink tourism, you're going to rethink your cricket career.
Jonathan, the challenge has been thrown to you now. And so your former teacher is saying to you, based upon his assessment of you, you won't be able to do it. You won't even get past 10.
But I would like him to be out there at the other end batting with me.
The challenge is on, folks, and this is what's happening this evening, y'all. This is just a preview of what you will see as Al works out when you come to the 3Ws Oval. The 3Ws Oval for the Barbados Tourism Week's T15 celebrity cricket match this evening, 6 to 9 at the 3Ws Oval under the lights. Carl Padmore is going to be the commentator, he along with Andrew Mason, and this is going to be quite fun. You were saying?
Yes, I'll tell you this. Can you guess, in your wildest dreams, who is going to be our guest umpire? Pearson, if you get it right, I'm going to make sure that Shanique gives you a dinner or lunch for two. Can you guess, Pearson?
Let me be careful how I answer this question. Let me ask the question just to be very short, because I want the dinner.
All right, it's a member of parliament.
Is a member of parliament?
Yes.
Would that possibly be Kirk Humphrey?
No, but you're close.
I didn't get this dinner? Now, could that possibly be... Oh, I got it.
Short person.
A short person? No, I don't see all of them physically all the time. I see them on TV. So, could it possibly be Dwight Sutherland?
No, I'll give you one more clue. Environment.
Oh, could it? No, I got this. First of all, before you answer, am I getting the dinner? Am I getting the dinner?
Yeah, Shanique, I'll call Shanique right now in front of you. Let me see. Right here. Right here.
Listen. What we shall do, right, is you send that number to my producer. We are going to call Shanique to confirm that your word is good for this one. The person who is the celebrity
umpire,
is that phone ringing? Is Adrian Ford. Adrian Ford.
Hello? Shanique. Shanique Morris. I'm live on Mornin Barbados. Pearson Bowen is guessing who is going to be our guest umpire, the Member of Parliament. If he gets it right, we're going to give him a lunch or dinner. And I just want to confirm if he can get it. Most definitely. Yeah, most definitely, Pearson.
Shanique, I take you at your word. And so the person who will be guest umpire this evening is Adrian Ford.
Is he right, Shanique?
She didn't
Is he right?
Here.
She said, he said MP Adrian Ford.
Adrian Ford. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Applause all around.
And along with him is going to be along with him is going to be Salt. Salt is going to be the next guest umpire. Antonio Mears is coming along with Don Lovell. They're going to be the official umpires. But MP Member of Parliament Adrian Ford, he has cricketing knowledge. They're going to be down there. We're going to be actually having some dancers down there. Took band 7 p.m. But from 6, we want you to be there. We have the food trucks are going to be there. The crown. Why 3Ws is because it has one of the best drainage systems in Barbados. So even in the weather that we're having right now, we can still have that happening. The pitch is being prepared as we speak. Pearson, you have to come out. We are rethinking tourism, but something is key here. Never before, because we have had celebrity games before, but this is the first time we're having the presence. Listen, legends are going to be there. The under 19 team will be there because we want to celebrate with them their success regionally.
Yes.
You have on the 15 guys playing with former Barbados and West Indies players and some outstanding entertainers who are celebrities. So you're having a combination of all in one place as we promote tourism. When you look at tourism, it affects the snow cone vendor, the taxi man. And Pearson, my mom said, to tell you, we grew up in Sunbury Great House. My great-grandmother worked there for 44 years.
Wow.
I know that is a tourism hub.
Yes.
So we understand the story of the coconut vendor will benefit from tourism. So that's how when we say tourism, it's our business because it's in our psyche. What we do is tourism. You know, so Marsha, kudos to you. Shanique, kudos to you. Julia, kudos to you. Legends, we are happy. And Mornin Barbados team come up tonight because if I'm really, really tempted, Pearson, I'm going to take up the bat. And I'm going to face Jonathan Carter. And I am going to discipline him.
Jonathan?
You understand? I'm going to discipline him.
If you're tempted.
If RJ Gittins, I am bringing for you. I'm going to say, RJ, give him 3 bouncers. Jonathan Carter.
Now listen, all of this is beer talk, but the action will be this evening at the 3Ws Oval on the campus of the University of the West Indies at KFL. So we want to encourage as many of you as possible to get there early from 6 in the evening. There will be food and entertainment. There's so much happening. The game, we're told, starts at 7, but it's going to be on. So come on out and cheer on Dale Richards, Derek Bishop, Alcindo Holder, Vasbert Drates, and a whole lot more, including Jonathan Carter and Carl Alf Padmore, along with Andrew Mason. They'll be doing themselves proud as well, whether it's at the cricket match, on the cricket pitch, or in the stands doing commentary and keeping people entertained. But it's a 15-over celebrity cricket match, and we want as many of you as possible to come on down and be a part of the Barbados Tourism Week by supporting the activities there at the 3Ws Oval this evening. Gentlemen, thank you. Let your words be proven through your performance in batting and bowling and fielding this evening. Looking forward to seeing all of you there. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm still working out, but that's all right. The T20 T15 cricket match is at the 3Ws Oval this evening, starting at 6 to be there. So also, by the way, folks, today, Wednesday, there's going to be the career showcase at the Grantley Adams International Airport. And those of you who are very much interested in what tourism has to offer, you can head over to the airport this morning to be a part of the career showcase that is on from 9 this morning until 3 this afternoon. So at the Grantley Adams International Airport, one of our absolutely favorite places on the island to go, the airport, for the career showcase using both levels so you can see. On Friday, it continues with an experience of the very best of our community. It's quite vast all over the island. There's going to be something going on, so look out for that on Friday. And then on Saturday, the week concludes with a rural community shout out. So they're going to be coming through the community between 1 and 4 in the afternoon. They'll end at the food truck mashup, and they want you to be there as well to share in all that's happening for Tourism Week 2022, Rethinking Tourism. We'll take a break right here. We're coming back with the news and more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Still to come this morning, we'll be joined by our urologist as we take a look at erectile dysfunction. It's a matter that men need to pay very close attention. So gentlemen and ladies, let's listen up when our urologist joins us in just a little bit. Also, we'll be looking at inclusivity and diversity, going beyond lip service as it relates to the work environment. That's when we talk HR with Hermab. I can't wait to delve into that particular subject. Are they similar? Are there differences? And what are the similarities? What are the differences? How does it actually work in the Barbadian work environment as well? So that's what we're going to be talking about in just a little bit. But let's get an update now on the news. And for that, here's Shane Seeley.
Thank you, Pearson. Here's your headline news for this Wednesday, September the 28th. The construction of a new Indigo branded hotel in Barbados is set to create hundreds of jobs and grow Barbados' tourism offering. Our Shane Jones was on location yesterday as the Prime Minister Mia Moore-Motley broke ground at the Hastings site.
In just about 2 years, the south coast of Barbados will have a new prestigious tourism product. That's the timeline given for the construction of an Indigo branded hotel, and this artist's impression gives you an idea of what it will look like. The new hotel will be located on the site of the old Caribbean Hotel in Hastings, Christchurch, and during the groundbreaking ceremony, Prime Minister Mia Moore-Motley toured the site and met with the developers. She said the $100 million investment shows there is confidence in Barbados' economy.
Last week, Barbados issued blue bonds, becoming one of the first countries in the world to do so with a pandemic clause included. But more importantly than all of that, for the purpose of the conversation this morning, is the fact that those blue bonds were oversubscribed and that 150% of what we asked for is what came to the table. Better than we anticipated, with better pricing than we anticipated. That is the judgment of the international community on this country. This groundbreaking this morning is the judgment of the regional community on this country. And we have to continue to just stay the course.
Ms. Motley says, as Barbados' tourism product continues to mature, new investments are critical. And she believes the Indigo Hotel is just one of many to come.
What is happening here is the exact thing that we want to happen. On this site stood 2 hotels. One of the oldest hotels that this country ever had, Ocean View. And many of you may not even remember it because it was knocked down so many years ago, but it was one of Barbados' premier hotels in the days before tourism was popular. And 2, Caribbean next door. So that when we talk about repurposing old and mature tourism product for a modern day Barbados, this is the example of what we're speaking of. Being able to have more density on the site, being able to therefore command more revenue for the hotel to make the hotel more competitive, and at the same time ensuring that those sites which had literally brought earnings for the country and jobs for Bajans can do so again in this way.
Trinidadian-based company Cruisin will be responsible for the hotel construction. Project manager James Edgell said it will be a welcomed addition to Barbados's tourism landscape, and the 2-year building period will create hundreds of jobs.
Indigo is a brand owned by IHG, which is one of the largest hotel companies in the world, so it's very prestigious that Barbados can attract such a brand. The hotel will have 131 rooms. It'll be 7 stories. We'll have 3 food and beverage offerings, and it represents approximately a $50 million investment by the investors. During construction, we anticipate $50 million. Yes. During construction, we anticipate employee numbers of about 250, and on hotel operations of about 75. So it's a significant investment both financially and in terms of employment for the island.
The hotel will boast several food and beverage options, and developers are hoping to attract both tourists and locals. Shane Jones, CBC News.
Barbados has recorded 32 new positive cases of COVID-19. According to the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the cases were registered as the results of 349 tests conducted on Monday by the laboratories across the island. Of the positive cases, 6 persons were under the age of 18 and 26 were 18 years and older. The number of people in isolation facilities was 30, while 232 were in home isolation. As at September the 26th, there were 559 COVID-19 related deaths in Barbados. Now, Hurricane Ian has slammed into western Cuba, forcing thousands of evacuations. It cut power as well to hundreds of thousands of people and swamped fishing villages. This as it moves north towards the U.S. state of Florida, where residents anxiously await the now Category 4 storm.
Blowing through the Cayman Islands, Hurricane Ian offers a taste of what is about to come for Cuba and the U.S. mainland. The island's National Emergency Operations Center has now given the all clear as Ian heads across the Caribbean.
We may have to turn around.
The International Space Station showed the eye of the storm as it approached Cuba. With winds reaching 155 kilometers per hour, it made landfall in the west. There's a risk of widespread damage in a country already suffering an economic crisis. Then in Ian's path is Florida. It's more than a century since a storm like this last threatened the Tampa Bay area.
I think you're always worried when there's a storm coming your way, so we're doing the best we can to prepare. And if needed, we'll evacuate, or I will evacuate if I need to.
The problem here is that storms approaching from the south push huge amounts of water up into the shallow Tampa Bay, inundating homes and businesses with a storm surge up to 3 meters high. Many people decided to head out of town rather than endure the hurricane. Those sitting tight stocked up before heading home to batten down the hatches. With Ian approaching the US mainland, the federal government has declared a public health emergency for Florida that has a population of 21 million people.
And that's our headline news for this morning. I'm Shane Seeley. It's back to you, Pearson.
Shane, thank you very much. We'll take a break here. We're coming back with more in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Just about 9 minutes now after 7 o'clock this morning, as we turn our attention now as we go into the doctor's office about erectile dysfunction. And there are many causes of erectile dysfunction, some physical, some psychological. But what do you do when you get the diagnosis, when that reality strikes? Our urologist, Dr. Paul Rouse, joins us now to share with us what we do. Dr. Rouse, good morning.
Good morning, and good morning, Barbados. Thanks for having me again.
You're welcome. Where do we start? Yeah.
I'll probably start with a definition, really, or bring it to the floor, really, is that I think a lot of men would really know about this condition. A lot of us don't talk about it, but it's really erectile dysfunction is the persistent inability to maintain, to get or maintain an erection sufficient to allow for sexual satisfaction. So you can see it's quite a broad definition there, but it nonetheless is a very important problem among men. If you bring up the slides, the reason why I want to talk about this problem is because during the pandemic and recently, the management has been not as good as I would like here on returning to the island, in that we had very few drugs available. And this is a very important problem. And one of my next slides, you'll see that the incidence of erectile dysfunction is quite high. As many as we anticipate, about 50% of men after the age of 40 can have some issues with their erections. Now, when we say issues with erections, it doesn't mean that they're totally impotent, in other words, not being able to have erections, but problems, as I said, in terms of getting erection in the first place and then maintaining it, and then sometimes are perceived sexual satisfaction based, quite frankly, on a lot of what media and society deems as appropriate sexual behavior. So the reason why I wanted to bring this here to the floor as well is, as you saw in the previous slide, it is having an erection is actually quite a complex interaction between our nerves and the physical organ, the penis. And it is really, as I like to say to my patients, an erection is really a vascular event. You have on sexual stimulation, you have an increased blood flow into the penis, and because the blood goes into the penis at a high pressure, but trickles out very slowly, that is why we get an erection. I use the analogy like a garden hose. When you turn on the pressure on the garden hose, it becomes very firm, very rigid. And similarly with an erection, so it's a vascular event. And therefore, when patients have issues with cardiovascular disease especially, this would follow on from your earlier talks by the Heart and Stroke Foundation about cardiovascular disease, which is quite prevalent here in Barbados. You can see why men will have problems with erections. High prevalence of diabetes, hypertension, heart disease here in Barbados. And this not only impacts upon the man, but it also impacts upon his partner. And this is a very important point. I think I had a slide in there about the importance of psychosexual counseling. Because all too often I get men coming into my office and they're unaccompanied. They don't bring their partners along. And this is very important because a lot of the time, as you have a problem, then you worry about having a problem. That makes the problem worse. You get more worried about the problem. That makes it worse. And so that psychological spiral happens. And especially if they do not have the support of their partner, then it makes it even worse. A lot of negative thoughts become get ingrained in your psyche, and it makes the whole situation worse. So therefore, psychosexual counseling is very important. I try sometimes to get men to go over and have a chat with. We have some psychosexual counselors here in Barbados. It's a little bit tricky to convince them sometimes to go, but you can know when it's a real problem, when the partners are along and say, we need to do something about this, right? But I want to reassure men that first, because of the issues that could potentially be a cardiovascular problem, that it's important that you see your GP in the first place to have that preliminary assessment, because unfortunately sometimes diabetes, hypertension, heart disease can actually present as erectile dysfunction in the first place, and unrecognized these NCDs sometimes can present. Yes. So actually part of my screening when a man comes in with complaint of problems with his erection is not only do I do the standardized scores and everything to assess the level of dysfunction, but I also screen, if they haven't been already screened by their GPs, for diabetes, for high blood pressure, which is standard when it comes through the door anyways, with urine analysis to look at and see if there's any glucose in your urine. Your blood pressure will be checked by my nurse, etc. But then also looking, do some basic blood tests, looking for high cholesterol or dyslipidemias as well. And these are the chronic STDs, chronic non-communicable disease that can actually present as erectile dysfunction as their first presentation. Also, unfortunately, some cancers, especially prostate cancer, can present as their first presentation with erectile dysfunction, because if you have an advanced cancer, it can infiltrate outside and inhibit the nerves to the penis. So you can see, although it is a common problem, but it can be a signal that something else is going on, and hence the importance. But usually most of my GP colleagues can do that initial assessment and make sure that you don't have the NCDs. So once you have that diagnosis, and you then will come to see me, usually they're referring to me, but I'm actually quite happy for GPs to initially start the process with medical therapy. And we do have quite a few drugs available. I'm not sure if you have that slide available, where we have the oral tablets. I'm sure everybody is familiar with the Viagra, the Cialis, but those are the sildenafil and tadalafil. I'm quite happy for GPs to start patients on a trial of these medications once it's appropriate. Remember, we've got to make sure that they don't have any underlying heart disease or they're not taking any nitrites, which would be a contraindication for starting these oral medications. And a lot of the times, actually, a lot of patients will respond to these medications, and it's quite safe to then continue these medications. And I think, actually, more recently, we've had some studies showing that we actually now use these medications for the management of cardiovascular disease. And as I said earlier, though, because of the pandemic, there was a lot of issues with supply of medications and stuff like that. So the next step after oral medications don't work is the injections. I know that topic doesn't sound very attractive to inject your penis. But actually, once I show men how to do it, before when we had the drugs more readily available, they were actually very surprised how effective it is. So it is actually a very effective form of managing erectile dysfunction in those men with quite advanced disease. So now we do actually, I've worked quite frankly with my pharmacology colleagues, and we now are able to offer some intracavernosal injections of alprostadil for the management of erectile dysfunction. There's also the vacuum erection devices. I don't think I had that in the slide, but it gets a little bit clunky using the vacuum erection device. It's not very sexy, so a lot of men don't usually like to use that. And quite frankly, we've had issues with supply chains again, so a lot of my patients in the post-radical prostatectomy setting have been importing them via Amazon or from the United States. And then unfortunately, when all else fails, oral medicines aren't working, intracavernosal injections aren't working, we do, the next step really would be considering a penile implant. And that would either be a malleable implant that kind of have a sort of semi-erection all the time, or you have the three-piece inflatable devices that give a more natural type of erection.
Right, oh boy. Oh boy, indeed. But you know, the reality is, you treat the cause, you can perhaps have get back to regular activity. And if you can't get back to regular activity because you're also treating the cause, there are other techniques that one can use to still have to feel oneself. And that's the best way I could possibly put it. Dr. Paul Ross, as always, thank you so much, my friend, for expanding your knowledge about things medical and the things about oneself that one needs to pay greater attention to, as always. Thank you. We look forward to interacting with you again soon.
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll see you again soon. Good morning, Barbados.
Indeed. Morning Barbados takes a break. When we come back, we're talking HR with Hermap. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
At 18 and a half minutes now after 7 o'clock, we're talking HR with Hermab. You know, it's one of my favorite segments of the week. Joining us as we look at this whole subject of going beyond lip service, looking at diversity and inclusivity in the workplace, is Nicholas Roberts, who is the Vice President of Hermab, and with him is Sonia Lane Gartside, a global consultant. To both of you, I say good morning.
Morning, person.
Good morning.
Morning, Barbados.
Good to see both of you yet again, indeed. And so I want to start with definitions. We need to understand what it is so that we can begin to break it down and see how we can apply it. What's the difference between diversity and inclusivity, and what is diversity and inclusivity in the workplace? Nicholas, we'll start with you.
Sure. So morning again, Pearson. So diversity speaks to your organization should look like the country or the society it operates within. So in terms of having a wide array of people when it comes to race, class, sexuality, social backgrounds, those type of things, that speaks to diversity. The inclusivity portion of it speaks to those people having a voice or having a seat at the table when it comes to feeling a part of the organization and a part of being their opinions being valued.
You know, Sonia, when one thinks about it, we can look around our office spaces and say, but we already have that. And who discusses that anyway? One's sexuality, one's this, one's whatever. You know, you just have people in the workplace who are somewhat different and they coexist and they get along. But why is it important for us, though, to really pay attention to how we do, if we're going to embrace the whole concept of diversity and inclusivity, to pay attention to get the mix right?
So it's very important.
It's important.
Sonia.
Yeah, go ahead, Sonia.
It's very important because depending on your social identity, how you see yourself, you bring a different lens to how you interact with people. And so your ideas, your opinions, your background, your personality creates a uniqueness. And when people are different, and if they're not given a way to navigate their differences, they can descend into conflict. So rather than come together and align to accomplish organizational goals, if you don't make a focus on it, how to train and teach people how to be inclusive, how to manage differences, then you can just be having an organization that you seem to get along, but really and truly you're just pulling against each other and not moving or rowing in the same direction.
How important is that a discussion at this time? Because, you know, there are people who say, but I employ you, I gave you a uniform, so you must look like each other. I give you set tasks, so you must be doing the same thing. I have no room for diversity because this is our measure of output. So how important is that in a today's environment with that kind of mindset that I just described?
Very important, because inclusion is about, can I come bring my full self to work? I feel like I'm accepted and embraced, and I don't have to assimilate beyond what is reasonable, right? So when I walk into the organization, I will assimilate because you'll give me a uniform. There'll be certain cultural norms that we carry on, but does it ask me to leave a significant part of myself outside? And what we know from research, what we know from leadership development and organizational success is that doesn't work. You have to have an organization that enables people to bring their full selves, feel accepted, so that they can create and be innovative and work in a way that is very engaging and that does well for the organization.
That's very engaging and does well for the organization, but it can also be very disruptive when they bring their own selves. And so there has to be, to my mind, Nicholas, some kind of system put in place where you do take some measure of control of how far one goes in all of this. So talk to me, Nicholas, about how does, you know, inculcating this into any organization, how important is that to its success?
So it's very successful. So Sonia had mentioned in terms of the research when it comes to leadership development and diversity and inclusion, when people feel as if they are included within an organization, as if they belong, they're varying perspectives and backgrounds, it creates an enriched environment. Unfortunately, if it is that you don't have an environment diverse, that is not inclusive, then you have people who may be moving towards the same direction, but there be something called groupthink. So people are so accustomed to thinking one way or having the same perspective or the same of doing things, but it's not bringing an enriched environment within the organization. And at the end of the day, it only works against the benefit of the organization and it being a successful and a thriving organization.
In other words, if I'm not happy being myself, then the likelihood is I'm not going to be the happiest outputter of service and products. Okay, fair enough. I get you. So, Sonia, you know, when we hear this whole thing about inclusivity and diversity, we think that's for North America, those more, you know, very vastly diverse societies, and little Barbados, where everybody looks almost like each other and everybody seems to behave in a particular way. How important is it for Barbados, and how can we get it done? What can we do to ensure that we do create and go beyond the lip service of, yeah, we're inclusive, yes, we're diverse, to get it done so that we achieve those goals?
It's extremely important for Barbados. We are facing so much challenges that are huge. And the beauty of diversity and inclusion is it brings everybody to the table. And as Nicholas referred to, it surfaces, it gets rid of that group think, and it frees up and allows the unique capabilities of people, their ideas, their creativity, their innovation to come to the table. And that doesn't happen organically, correct? Right? You have to train people on how do we ensure that when we come together and we unite like a choir and not be out of tune and singing different, you know, one person is singing soca, one person is singing opera. So one of the first things that we do here, and I work with organizations to do, is that you have a strategy. You have to come together and develop a strategy. So you can't be strategic planning without D&I. If you're strategic planning without D&I, you're developing a nice little plan that will not be implemented, right? Because you are not focusing on how do I ensure that I am maximizing and utilizing these differences, that people don't feel like they can't be themselves. Because when you feel you can't be yourself, you spend more time masking and trying to fit in than working. Right? And so you want to release people from that so they can bring every ounce of their energy, every ounce of their ideas, their creativity, their intellect to figure out how do we implement given these huge challenges. And so that starts, I always say it starts with having a leader that understands that this is their primary task, you know, to develop a good strategy, and to also ensure that within that strategy is how do we ensure that we get D&I involved in order to execute on our strategic plan.
Nicholas, how do we measure it? How do we ensure that day in, day out, that it is something that everyone holds and is accountable for?
So I think you measure it by the values of your organization. So as Sonia had mentioned, in terms of you having an HR strategy or HR plan, I think we've been discussing it throughout the various sessions with her mom and throughout the last 2 weeks. Your HR strategy and your HR plan guides the organization, and as we would have mentioned continuously, it should feed into your organizational plan. With that being said, you should have metrics in place. So for instance, I know you spoke about North America. Sometimes they have something called a diversity hire, whereas they have a quota in terms of you have to have X amount of women sitting at the within the C-suite. You have to have X amount of people of color within your organization. I don't think we've necessarily gotten to that level as yet within Barbados, but that is how you measure it. Having measurable outputs in terms of saying, well, you need to have X people. But I think taking it a bit further, when you culture of the organization and when you develop the type of organization that you want through DNA, you say to yourself, come as you are and we will accept you. As you mentioned, yes, within the confines of the culture of the organization and the reasonable confines within the organization. But when you have when you know what your culture is, and when you are accepting all types of people, all types of backgrounds, all people with all types of perspectives and points of views, it becomes something that you don't necessarily have to measure, because your organization is organically a diverse and inclusive organization. And that is where the belonging and the equity of diversity and inclusion comes in.
But in the first instance, once we set a new pattern, somebody has to be the culture police. So Sonia, who is the culture police to ensure that, you know, that when you come to the stop sign, you stop, and when you see that red green light, you go?
Well, you're not a police person, but you're a molder and the leader. And usually leaders like to delegate this to HR, and I say no. When organizations come to me to say, I want to develop a D&I plan, I say, if you're not bringing the CEO, then we can't work together, because ultimately they're the ones responsible. This is not something you just HR is critical to helping you do it, but it must be driven by the CEO, and they're a molder of it. And so what you do is you have that diversity, you bring those people together, and then you have to build inclusive skills. You have to build inclusive leaders who understand how to pull from people, how to harness their talents and their ideas and allow them to be applied appropriately. And so it's modeling that as a leader, ensuring your leadership team models it. It's also when you have diversity and you want metrics, you want to measure inclusion by asking people, do you have a sense of belonging? Do you feel engaged in this organization? And then believe them when they tell you no. And when they tell you no, then you ask them, well, how would you like to be included? How would you like to have that sense of belonging? And then utilize and act on that information.
You know, some would say, when they hear no, they will say, oh, okay, well, there you go. Because clearly you have no intention to, of helping me achieve what I want to achieve. So you answered me with no, you go. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about creating that space where everyone feels valued, and in doing so, that they can now give of their best self. But, you know, to achieve all of this, we have to first start with acknowledging that there is diversity and how we can quote it out so that we can have a more inclusive space. But if not to do it, what's the danger, Nicholas, in not doing it or in not getting it right? What's the danger?
So I think I had mentioned it earlier in terms of the organization not being a rich organization. The whole purpose of diversity and inclusion, like I mentioned, is that we operate within a society that has people that have various perspectives and various backgrounds, and we bring a rich thought process with that. With that being said, if it is that we don't have that within the organization, it can affect the bottom line. You can have disengaged employees. You can have a culture that is toxic. All of these things work to undermine the success of the organization and the success of your employees. And obviously, we want a harmony. The organization, as it's on a whole, and its employees working together for the success of the business, because obviously a business is there to make a profit. But with that being said, when people come to an organization, you want them to bring their best selves. And if they don't bring their best selves, it means that the organization is not meeting its purpose of meeting the people need, because we're people. And when we interact, we want to feel as if we enjoy the work that we do, and we want to go to an organization that we're happy in. And if an organization is not diverse and if it's not inclusive, these things will not occur.
Sonia, someone listening who runs a business today, hearing all that Nicholas would have just said and said to themselves, you know, I'm getting it wrong, but I want to start today to get it right. But I don't feel as if I have enough time to be able to turn that tide. Is it a time sensitive, and how timely is it? How much time really is taken to get all this in place?
Well, it doesn't take a lot to start, because the first thing we do is come in and say, well, what are you trying to accomplish? What's the great challenges that you have? And how are your people currently feeling? How engaged are they? And then we identify where the pain points are, and then we tackle those. And it's really easy to start. What is often difficult for people is to continue it. You know, starting a new habit, being inclusive, listening to people. When you're trying to get things done and you're exhausted and you're just trying to move things up, it takes time, it takes emotional energy to just listen so you can address people's issues and explain why you're moving left instead of right as they want you to do that. But it's an investment, and I talk about this all the time, an investment in time and energy that pays off. And gets easier as you go on. So I would say to people, the barriers to starting are not high. So just start, because it's a journey. And once you start it and you strengthen those inclusive muscles, then you will start to see that instead of having to drag people, and I know earlier you said, well, people say no and then you ask them to go. Not in today's environment. Your organizations are struggling to find people. And so if you want to not be continuously on a merry-go-round of trying to get people, then this is an investment that you should start today.
Today, folks. And so today you can start it. You can contact HERMAB, hermab.org.bb. That's a good place, a great place to start. I wouldn't even use go to the superlative. Great place to start. All of these professionals that we have on with you, and those two in particular that you see on your screen, they're happy to respond to your requests for information and assistance. Of course, membership is absolutely vital. So we encourage you as much as possible as well to join the organization HERMAB, because with membership comes tremendous benefits indeed. A subject that I hope engages the minds and attention of many businesses today, starting today if it hasn't already begun to do so. And I hope that they begin to implement as soon as possible so that we do see that diversity and inclusivity in every workspace where we can all turn up and all feel respected, included, and also, achieving. Thanks to you indeed, Nicholas Roberts, and my good friend Sonia Lane Gartside as well. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome. We've just been talking HR with HERMAB, and we're going to take a break, and we're coming back in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
"24 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock. I want to introduce you to this lovely voice. Her name is Sana Akani. She lives in Sweden, but she has Barbadian roots, and she's also in an idol competition. What's that about? Sana, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to be on Morning Barbados. Let's start with your story, because your father, I believe, is Barbadian.
Yes, he is.
So who is your father, if you don't mind me asking?
So some people out there might know him. My dad is Saif Din Akani, and he's full on Bajan, left when he was like 17. Yeah. So he's always had me very proud of my Bajan roots.
And I'm so happy to hear you say that. So what do you think it means to be, what has he taught you about Barbados and the Barbadian culture?
So he's always been very I've always been very aware of where I come from. He's never let me forget, which I'm obviously very grateful for.
Yes.
I throughout my childhood, we would usually around Christmas we would always go at least once a year. So I've always grown up with that family and the culture, food, and music, and he's never let me forget, and I'm I'll always be grateful for that. So I'm excited to the plan is to come back to my little island in December.
I love that. Come back to my beautiful island indeed. And so living in Sweden, knowing your ancestry, that you have part of your roots in Barbados, how does that make you feel, first of all, and how does it make you feel as a global citizen?
I think I've always said that I'm very happy to know where I'm from, because walking the streets in Sweden, everybody doesn't necessarily look like me. And I'm very proud of both sides of where I'm from, for sure. But I think it's very much informed my identity, and that I feel like I have more than one home, and the fact that there's more than one culture that makes up who I am and how I've grown up. I've always been very proud of that, and it's not something that I've hidden. I've been very open about that always from a very young age, for sure.
That's fantastic. Now, you're part of an idol competition. What is this competition that you've put yourself in?
So I'm unfortunately no longer on it. They've made it to the top 11 now, but it's the same setup and concept and show as American Idol, which I think a lot of people have heard of. So it was never something I thought I would do, to be honest. I was very much on the path of studying music for a long time, and I went to London, to university there, to get my bachelor's in music production and vocals. But I just came to visit my mom over the Easter break, and then the pandemic broke out, so I was kind of stuck. But before that, I was living in London, and I was contacted in February this year, and they asked me if I would be willing to audition. And at that point, I just felt like I have nothing to lose. And so it's been a very long journey. I've learned a lot and met a lot of fantastic musicians and people in the industry. So I'm very grateful that I decided to do it, for sure. So I just got back home to the south of Sweden from Stockholm, the capital, where we were doing live shows last week. But yeah, so now I'm just excited to see what more life has in store, what more music has in store for me.
How would you describe your voice and your music choices? How would you describe that?
I would probably say there's kind of a red thread of soul in anything that I do. I think a lot of different genres, especially when you study music, you do a lot of different genres and you try a lot of different things out. But I would say that my main passion is always soul music, and that's always something that's been very near and dear to my heart. And I think that's probably what a lot of people who know me with music would say as well. So it might not be the most popular genre in Sweden, but I feel like I kind of I stuck to my gut and I stuck to my roots, and that's kind of what I did.
Right.
On the show as well.
That's the Barbadian in you, girl. That's the Barbadian to stick to your roots, stick to what you do. Indeed.
Yes.
What do you think of our? What do you think? I'm curious. What do you think of our music? Let's for instance, soca. We sing a lot of soca on this island. What do you think of it?
Soca is like, anytime I'm upset or I'm depressed about the gray weather that we have here right now, like I'm wearing a yellow dress to try to embrace the Barbados, but I'm also wearing very fluffy socks. I actually, because my mom loves Barbados, has always loved Barbados, and we have like a soca playlist between the two of us. So anytime we're a bit bored or we feel like we need cheering up, we'll just put that on and we'll like dance, sing around in the apartment. So it's definitely like, it's one of my favorite genres for sure. I love soca music, absolutely.
Oh, so good to hear that indeed. So here it is, you've been a part of the Idol competition. You've just finished some live performances and stuff. You also sang with a band. True?
Outside of the competition, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, so I've been in a few different constellations of bands. All of my I tend to most of my friends nowadays that are close friends tend to be musicians, just because that's who I've met through my schooling and everything. And so there have been a few different bands that I've been in, just you know, because we go out and we do gigs or for recording purposes or what have you. So yeah, I've been in bands both in Sweden and in the UK. I think now is probably the longest time that I've kind of
Wow.
been on my own and trying to kind of do my solo artist thing,
Yes.
I would say.
Listen, because you're Barbadian, there's a market space here for you as well, Sana Akani. So please send your music over. We are willing to... What was this? Look at this. What's this? This is the Idol competition.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah,
you would have...
so this was my initial for the show. Where basically, if they send you through, they give you like a golden ticket, like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So yeah, so this is footage from my first audition.
I'm seeing some of the comments to the side there. Some saying, "Wow, woo woo!" So people clearly loved your performance in that one, indeed. And so we are happy to have met you this morning, Sana Akani, and we hope very soon to have your music on this side of the world continue to represent Barbados in the way you do, owing to your heritage. And I can't wait to really continue to salute you on all you've been able to achieve. We're happy to have been able to showcase you to the world this morning on our little show, Morning Barbados. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome indeed. Her name is Sana Akani. She has Barbadian parentage, and so she's in Sweden. She's born in Sweden. She lives in Sweden. She is super talented. Go online. You'll see we're showing you all of her socials and you get a sample of what it is that she does and we want you to be a part of it. Her debut single is out now, and as much as possible, if you can, just go get it from Spotify. Download, stream, whatever you choose to do, and enjoy the offerings of Barbadian Sana Akani. We're going to take a break right here. We're coming back in a moment. 14 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock. Tuesday coming, which is October the 4th, is World Animal Day. World Animal Day is coming up on Tuesday. And joining us to talk a little bit about what we can expect is Karen Whitaker, who's from Ocean Acres, and Gail Hunt, trustee for Action for Animals Barbados. Good morning, ladies.
Hi, good morning.
Thank you, Gail. Both of you, good to see you yet again. Starting with you, Gail, let's talk a little bit about the work that you continue to do as trustees for Action for Animals Barbados.
Okay, so we've had quite an eventful year in terms of working with the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Health. And we're really, really pleased to see that they've been working with the stakeholders to look at the legislation. That's been the most important thing, to see if we can get amendments made and kind of like tighten up the levels of enforcement that we've been advocating for quite a while. So it's been good. We're looking forward to World Animal Day, which is coming up next Tuesday, as you mentioned as well.
Who would have thought there's a day for animals, this World Animal Day? I know, Karen, you have been also in the forefront of raising awareness, particularly of dogs in particular. But it's broader than this now. It's World Animal Day. Why do you think we as Barbadians, we as human beings need to really pay attention on that particular day, Tuesday?
Okay, well, I think this is something that we need to do every year. I think it's going to be such a good thing for us.
as you say, all animals, not just dogs and cats, every single animal, because they're part of our society, they're the part of our world, and I think it's nice that, you know, we bring them all into this and we operate in a more holistic, kind of kind society, and they've got an awful lot to offer to us, and we need to learn a lot more about them, how to look after them and how to live with them, because in Barbados, unlike other countries, we're not quite there yet in doing that. But I think we can all learn, you know, it's very positive things that have been happening now.
Indeed, and part of the education, part of that learning is how to care for and how to care against abuse as well. I know we've had examples in recent times where people have gone a little extreme with the care of their pets and animals. And I'm sure a part of what you want to be able to achieve on Tuesday and on World Animal Day is an awareness of that sensitivity towards animals.
Absolutely. I think it's very important that we don't normalize some of the things that happen that are actually abuse. And we have different versions of what you might call abuse or neglect. Some people are just downright cruel, unfortunately, but let's hope that's the minority. Some people end up being cruel because they just absolutely don't know. They haven't got a clue how to look after their animals, dogs, cats, whatever. I meet some people who don't even know that their dogs need water, or they think they can have it once a week or something like that. They just really don't know. So, you know, if we're all together, we can share this information, and we're hoping as well, like we discussed with the government, that they will come on board and start, you know, doing some information in different outlets, you know, different places to just educate the general public on these very basic things, and it would save us a lot of time, and it'd make a much happier society out there.
And so, Gail, I know that your actions also have been in support of all that what World Animal Day represents. You have always also been in the forefront of raising that information, that awareness about what's going on. Let's talk a little bit about what we can expect on Tuesday next, which is World Animal Day.
Yeah, sure. So the event's going to begin at Pebbles Beach, 5:30 at the car park. We're going to be convening there. We're encouraging everybody to wear the colours of the Barbados flag. So it's going to be blue, yellow and black. And then from 6 p.m. we're going to be walking from Pebbles Beach down to Independence Square. And when we get there, we're going to be having speakers from the various animal welfare organisations. So that would be Ocean Acres, the ARC, RSPCA, the Marizali Sanctuary, the Horse Sanctuary. We really want it to be all-encompassing so that people can get an understanding of the various organisations that exist in Barbados and what they do. We're very lucky to have Marcus Myers, who's going to be our Master of Ceremony, so he's going to be our MC. And people who come to the event can also look forward to entertainment, which will be Roni. She's going to be singing the song. And we've got Patrick Ford, who's going to be doing a special dance for us. And then we've got Lashana Griffith, who's going to be, as you will know, she's a very well-known poet. So she's going to be talking, well, she's actually going to be reciting a poem around animal welfare. So it's really going to be, we're really happy to be part of this global initiative, Walk for Animals.
This is an evening activity. This is not a daytime activity. I like this fact that you're starting at 6 in the evening. Sun is still up somewhat, and that makes it a much cooler walk from Pebbles to Independence Square. And because it's a relatively short distance, you're not going to be exhausted, folks. So you really, as an animal lover and a support of all this, can come out.
That's right. That's the idea. We didn't want to do it during the day. One, because people are often working, and we wanted as many people as possible to take part. Secondly, it's cooler, but we're also going to be holding a candle lit. It's not really a candle lit, a light video in between the events proceedings, and that's going to be remembrance of all the animals that would have experienced animal abuse. I'm still going through it, and so the light vigil will be kind of like a special moment when Roni will be singing for us. We'll have the lights on.
So it's going to be quite a day on Tuesday, folks, where we all are asked to raise our awareness and our appreciation for the pets around us. And so, Karen, talk to me broadly about some of the things that you would want the average person to do all minute long on that day on Tuesday that we don't already do.
Okay, well, maybe just give a little bit of thought. That's the first thing. You know, sometimes we all get so busy, don't we, in our day. Just take a little bit of time. If animals around you or animals in your home, just think what they might need. If you don't already understand that they have thoughts and feelings, just consider that they do, you know. I mean, there's lots of wonderful pet owners in Barbados, and there's some people that perhaps don't always understand quite what their animals, their pets, the animals that they're keeping need, and that they all have feelings. They all get hot and cold, they all get thirsty, they all get upset, they all get scared. So just give a little bit of thought to that, not just on that day, but every day, you know, and let's move forward in a more thoughtful and kind way. And I think one thing that is excellent that I'm quite pleased about is we are now on the World Animal Day website, if anybody wants to look at that, and then hopefully we will have the Barbados flag up on there with all of the other countries' flags.
Lovely.
So and this is something that we want to do every year, you know, and for it to get bigger and bigger.
Yes, indeed. And I want to encourage you on that. Now, joining us this one is one of those who will be performing in Independence Square at the end of the walk, which starts at 6 o'clock at Pebbles. It's Empress Rowley. Empress Rowley, good morning.
Good morning, pleasant good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm so glad to hear that. So there you are, and there you will be on Tuesday in Independence Square. What can we expect from you in lending your support to this activity on Tuesday?
Well, I grew up around animals. I was actually born in Stockholm in Sweden, but I am a Bajan, you know, by descendant of birth. And I moved home to Barbados in the 80s. And coming here from what we would call a first world country to a third world country in the 80s, animal abuse was really prominent. I must say that things have improved tremendously since the 80s to now. Congratulations on all the hard work. Me and my twin sister used to mainly rescue horses and dogs because that's our passion. But of course, cats and so on. For me, animals are my best friends, often because, you know, you come from a different country, you're a different skin color, you might not always fit in as quickly. But with horses, they're not prejudiced, they don't judge, animals don't judge, they love you. If you treat them well, they treat you good. You know, so animals are one of my passions together with music. And for Independence Square, I am going to be singing a song I did 10 years ago when I used to have a lot of German Shepherds. And unfortunately, when I moved into St. Andrews, there was not a lot of people living here. It was vastly mainly open land. So the animals had a lot of freedom. And then as humans started coming into the district, their way of controlling any animal was to put out poison. So if they were farming and there were rats eating their food or monkeys or whatever, they would just toss out poison. And unfortunately, they put poison on the borderline of my property to their property. And I woke up one morning and found my 2 mature German Shepherds. They were dead. It was like green stuff oozing out of their mouths, their eyes, their ears. It was so traumatic for me. It felt like losing, maybe not as strong as losing a child, but definitely a family member. So I wrote a song for them, which I will be performing at Independence Square. Yes. My German Shepherds used to sit down and howl at the moon. It was like the most miraculous thing. So they didn't need an ambulance or a siren to set them off. Once they were moonlight, they would just go out in the arena, which is where we train our horses.
Yes.
And sit down and sing. I used to go out there and sing with them, like.
So you'll be seeing, from your experience, you'll be seeing from your love of animals as well on Tuesday. I want to thank you all. Now, Gail, just quickly, when people walk, we want them to walk not because they have 2 feet alone, but we want them to walk in support of all of the effort for all of the animal care organizations. We want them to walk because they have a love for what they do. We want them to walk because we want to raise awareness. And we want them to come in their blue, yellow, and black, put it on, hit the road, and assemble in Independence Square on Tuesday to lend one support to World Animal Day, because animals are some of the best species on the world, on the earth, that give love in such a genuine way. And so to experience that is a great thing, and we want you to show your appreciation on Tuesday. Ladies, I want to thank you, Empress Rowley, Gail, and Karen, for joining us this morning. Much success with the route and with the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. We're going to take a break here, come back in just a minute.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
I know. I said that we're going to do some unscrambling, but we're out of time already. Just to let you know, though, that on Friday, we'll be coming to you live from the location there at St. James Parish Church in Holetown. So look out for us there on Friday morning live from that location as we work with the St. James Parish Independence Committee. That's it for today. Thanks to my producer, Alicia Als Grant, my technical director, Roel Ford, our sound engineer, Christopher Blenman, and at Master Control has been Doreen Big Nuff. Thank you, everybody. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Good morning.